Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Taylor, and I'd like to welcome you to the Language of Life podcast. The Language of Life podcast is a platform focused on intriguing stories about coming life topics such as relationships, finance, and careers, all for the purpose of inspiring and motivating you for success. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us a very inspiring person, a very successful person who is a tremendous asset to just being in relationship with. His name is Ryan Miller. He is the managing principal for Cushman & Wakefield in the DC region and the senior management level. He is a tremendous individual. I've had the pleasure of meeting him and working for him on his team. And the day that I met him, he has been the same ever since the first day I met him at Cushman & Wakefield. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller, thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Part of the podcast.
Thanks for having me here, Paul. So if I'm the same as the first day that I met you, I've been boring for the past 6 months. Is that what you're saying? I haven't changed?
No, that's all good. It's all
good. Good.
It's all good, Ryan.
I just wanted to clarify that here at the start to make sure, if I'm the same, in what regard is it, is it boring? Is it uninspiring, or maybe the inverse? So we'll flesh that out in the conversation today.
And look, you all will see, just like me, you'll learn as we go along that he's a very intriguing person. He's quick on his feet too, and he knows how to make you laugh. At the same time, there's two words I was thinking about, Ryan, today when I was thinking about you, that you're focused and you're calm and you're cool about what you do, and you give great leadership. You're an awesome leader. So thank you for that.
I appreciate you saying that. Maybe I'm a little bit like a duck, on the top of the water. It looks like it's just floating along very calmly, but underneath, the legs are going a million miles an hour. And I think that's pretty much how, we all operate, especially in business. But I'll throw that back at you. I think since the day I met you, you've been a huge asset to our company, and a joy to have you as the face of the company when our colleagues and our clients arrive, and just the care that you provide. So as evidenced by this podcast that you're doing, it shows who you are at the core and who you are as a person, and that's evident to everyone that works with you at Cushman & Wakefield. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is such an honor to hear that coming from you, Ryan. Really, truly, it is. And I'm excited, but nevertheless, want to get into some questions to ask you. Ryan, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and just introduce yourself in that way, and how you got started in the business of commercial real estate, and how you pretty much worked through the different levels to get where you're at today. Can you just share that with us and just introduce to us, and where you went to college and all that as well?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's interesting whenever, especially in a big metropolitan area like DC or others, the comes up, tell us about yourself and who you are and what you do. And I think it's easy to run right to what we do professionally and how we got to where we got to. But first and foremost, on the personal side, I'm a husband and a father. I've got 3 kids, 10, 12, and 14, girl, boy, girl. Met my wife at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is a school about an hour east of Pittsburgh. And so that was probably 23, 24 years ago when we met. And here we are, 3 kids later, now living here in the DC area, a few hours south of where we met. But and also 2 dogs. Can't forget the 2 Labrador retrievers that we have here. They'd be upset if I didn't throw them into the mix. But so I'm pleased and blessed to have a great family, immediate family as well as extended family, majority of which are in Pennsylvania. Born and raised in a town called Altoona, which is central part of the state, not too far from State College, where Penn State University is. So back to the college career, went to IUP, graduated from there, met some people who are in the commercial real estate industry. Seemed intriguing, seemed like a very entrepreneurial path to take, and sky being the limit as far as opportunity, both financial as well as intrinsically. And so I got into it in Pittsburgh, joined a company called CBRE, was doing retail leasing. Realized fairly quickly I probably didn't want to be doing retail and wanted to be in a bigger market. So I transitioned to DC in 2004 and was doing office leasing, so representing owners of office buildings as well as tenants in those buildings to advise them on their strategy for leasing space, and did that for about 12 years. Got into the corporate services side, represented a large account at CBRE globally, so handled their real estate, their transactions and their strategy at a global level, and then transitioned from that to a leadership role at a company called Newmark, where I was for about 3.5 years prior to this role at Cushman & Wakefield. So now at Cushman have the responsibility for leading that greater DC region, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia, about 100 brokerage professionals, about 100 staff, and then we have, a lot of other lines of business that have leadership of those lines, but that dotted line into this role as managing principal market leader. So that's kind of the long and short of my professional trajectory and career.
Wow, that is awesome. That's quite a bit. It's unique because you work for CBRE, and I had the privilege of working for them too as well. And I'm surprised our paths never crossed, but it's interesting.
I don't think I realized that. So where were you with CB?
I was actually right there in DC at the bank that I worked there, and then at the Boeing building, covered there at the Boeing, and as well also at a location in Virginia, which I worked at called Compass, the Compass site. I was there. Actually opened up that account, and I actually was a part of a lot of the construction and renovation that took place at that account right there in Virginia. So gained a lot of experience doing that as well. So I wish I had a crossed paths with you then.
Yeah, small world, but destiny brought us together at Cushman, I guess.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Now the pleasure of working with you. Ryan, I've had the privilege of watching you and observing you and admiring you and how you conduct and handle yourself and how you give leadership, how you're very approachable and consistent with that and the field of work that you do. There's something that I see that really stands out to me as you're balanced. I know you said that you're a dad, your husband, and the 3 kids, the home life. Is balanced, and we've talked, and I know that you said that you were doing some things with your children, and the kind of home life, the kind of upbringing that you had, I see plays so much of a very important part to you as a successful businessman, a leader in corporate America. Who, as a child, as a young man growing up, who were the people that inspired you, Ryan Miller, to want to pursue and do what it is that you are doing today? Who was the person who made the greatest impact on your life growing up?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I probably can't go back to one individual. I could probably point out 10 or 15 or 20, and a lot of that is growing up where my father was one of 13, my mother's one of 5, and so always a big family around. So aunts, uncles, cousins. It was really kind of the whole family that I think inspired me. And if you look across my era, all of my cousins, in terms of who we are, that constant interaction, exposure to family, and having that be at the core of everything that was done, celebrations, holidays. It was always very family oriented and a lot of family. And so with a family of that size, particularly on my father's side, there was always a premium on the holidays, and so we just always had to kind of figure it out. So I think that really inspired it. Also, my great faith-based upbringing, having gone to Catholic school through my senior year in high school, and just having a component of who I am, how I operated, and that being infused into education and athletics. I still carry that with me today. So I think that, for sure family, for sure my parents being an inspiration, but really the extended family that was around me is helped shape me who I am personally as well as professionally. I think leadership oftentimes gets confused with all the answers kind of being up here and everyone else down here. Leadership from my perspective is really servant leadership, right? So rolling up your sleeves and kind of leading from down here and lifting others up, and doing that in a way that that requires, collaboration and collegiality more so than just always having right answers and dictating that downward. It's more of jumping in the ring and figuring it out collectively.
Wow, that's awesome. You talked about leadership, servant leadership. Where you're more the one that'll put the towel on and serve the people that you lead, which really gives them an inspiration to really want to be a part of your team. That's so very important. One of the things that I've learned from work experience and over the years of working is that one gentleman told me one time, he said, Paul, one of the best ways to really be in leadership is the work that you ask people to do. You can do it as well, or you're familiar with it to where they understand that there's a connection and they'll have more respect for you when you ask them to do it. And that's what I hear from you and what you do now and how you really begin to move and work your way to where you are today. Such an inspiration. I want to ask you a question. Had you ever thought about writing a book, Ryan, at all? Or
No, I haven't. And maybe at some point when I'm sitting in a hammock for most of my days, by salt water, I'll give that some thought. That requires a lot of work, a lot of time. Not that it can't be done as a side gig, but just kind of like my aspirations to be sitting down at the keys more often and playing the piano. I think just with 3 kids and 2 dogs and a full-time job, it's maybe a bit more challenging, but I think that would be a good thing. But just like journaling, it kind of forces you to be introspective, and irrespective of what the topic is, doing that at some point would probably be a good exercise.
Right, exactly. With what you're doing now, Ryan, and in the business world as far as corporate America and leadership, I wanted to go back to kind of like your college days. As you know, because in college we kind of figure out sometimes we change our majors and things of that nature. We look at internships and things like that. We begin to look at different companies we'd like to work for. What in college? When did you discover that what you're doing now is what you wanted to do? Did you discover that in college, that you wanted to kind of go in this direction? Or
I think I just business generally, yes. So I think all throughout college there was a focus on being in business. I majored in management, and always knew that would probably be a path that I was going to take, and that a management track would be applicable really to a lot of different types of careers. But it wasn't until probably a year out of school where I realized the commercial real estate thing that was of interest and something that I wanted to dip my toe in the water and figure out what it was all about. And here we are almost 20 years later, and actually now 20 years later for sure this year, being in the industry. And so the nice part about the industry is it's very diverse, types of companies that you work with in terms of the types of roles that can be performed, be it brokerage or property management, construction management, consulting, valuation advisory. There's a bunch of different ways that we can service clients and help deliver value to them. And I think that's what makes this industry interesting is that it's not linear. There's lots of different areas that you can go into, and then collectively pulling those together can really offer a pretty dynamic services offering.
Wow. Ryan, I was listening to you talk, and being the managing principal that you are right now with not Goldman Sachs, that's where I work for CBRE, but with Cushman & Wakefield, being that position that you hold, how is that doing as far as you now, and where do you see yourself from this position going in the field of work that you're in? How is this fulfilling for you as well too?
Yeah. And I think the fulfilling part of it is being in a position where I can positively affect change, at the individual level and at the company level. So being able to bring people together maybe in ways that would not happen organically or left to their own devices, being able to see ways that from a collaborative standpoint, we can be more successful in working with our clients, and it can be more fulfilling, internally for the group. being able to have the ability to do that is one of the things that's fulfilling in this role. I think also being able to humanize the business and not have it be all about the numbers. To be intentional about what we celebrate, how we celebrate it, being clear about what our values are and how that translates into fulfilling, more successful environment. That they're not just poster values; they're things that if we subscribe to and do it right, it's going to make a more dynamic work environment, which is going to make us more successful, overall as a group and as a company. So, enjoyable part about a role like this is that there's not a playbook necessarily. It requires be adaptable to the people that I'm working with and supporting and leading.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of inclusion ways in which how you do things of really formulating a team of people that represents. It's like a rainbow. It represents all different types of social challenges and approaches that brings about a solution. And that's what I see about you and the leadership role that you play, and that you provide leadership, and it's an inclusive objective that you present and you fulfill it. And in every step that I see you operating in, and how you're able to really communicate and this is the one I really love and I really admire about you, is the ability to articulate the solution in a form where it makes people feel at ease, makes people feel welcome, and it gives direction and leadership. There's always this leadership it's a thread that really draws everything that you do together and brings people together. And so
I appreciate you saying that. Inside looking out, you don't really see that in leadership. You see the challenges, you see the opportunities, you see how you think you might want to tackle it, but the full impact of how you operate. So it's nice to get that feedback. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And one of the things that this platform of the language of life is a platform that does not operate with tunnel vision. It's peripheral vision, and how to really see some folks that may be with you for a certain amount of time, but then there are others that are with you and they develop. And out of that developmental process, they begin to branch out and do other things based on the opportunity that they've had to work with you, and that peripheral view of you being able to see them and pull them in and build your team as you begin to move forward. One of the things I always believe as a leader, the greatest evidence of leadership is when that leader is not there, it's like they've never left, because the people that are developed within their peripheral vision are able to do it and proceed and be successful because of what they've been able to learn from walking and working with Ryan Miller.
Yeah.
So there's so much. It's a conglomeration of things that are happening here that's so very exciting about, what you do and being a part of you and knowing you as an individual. And again, this platform celebrates, celebrates people and their success, the pros and the cons, to learn what to do and what not to do. So with that, Mr. Ryan Miller, there's one question I've got to ask you, and I'm going to ask you. It's about the keyboard. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I've learned and working in the work environment, that all of us as individuals wear so many hats, and the question I want to ask you, it's kind of off the charts here, but how did you get into music? What inspired you to get into music as a musician?
Yeah, I think just being around it. So music was always on. My father was and still is. You could consider it a groupie of James Taylor, and then really any singer songwriter that had any type of connectivity there. So I think just always being around, being exposed to music, especially the singer songwriter type of music, and going to many concerts, over the years since I was very young, really got me interested in it. I started taking piano lessons in first grade or second grade, I believe. Did it for 5 years, then got into other things, sports, and then kind of gravitated back to it. And still am not immersed enough in it as much as I'd like to be. But music has always been part of kind of who I am, and then by extension who we are as a family. It's always on in the house. different types of genres of music. And I like to sit down and probably annoy the rest of my family with trying to figure out how to play a particular song or what key it's in. And so, yeah, I think and music is universal. You see how it brings people together of different political persuasions or race or gender, or, it doesn't really matter. Culturally, there's kind of a common thread there. So that was evidenced by you playing for us just before the holidays last year, and just a feel good vibe that provided. Again, we mentioned before about humanizing what we do, and then it's not all just about the numbers and about achieving goals and realizing success. It's about having a damn good time as well, and I think music allows for that. It can be an elixir to some of the challenges that we face in the corporate world or just out there in society. The music itself, as well as the message, can have a binding effect. So that's kind of where music sits in my life. I know it's near and dear to you. I am in big admiration of what you're able to do on the keys, and seemingly just fly. So we do need to sit down and to get some lessons from you.
Yeah. See, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is a humble man we're talking to.
I need to be humble. When you put me next to you on the keys,
look,
it's this 2-year-old playing chopsticks next to Mozart.
Look, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. I always believe that the greatest teacher is one who remains teachable, and so much we can learn from each other. And I love what you said about humanizing. I think that when people can see a person as yourself that's accomplished and successful in what you do, to see the human side. Again, I said you're very approachable, to where people feel comfortable. You have that way. A lot of people can be in positions and very influential positions, but not have the best people skills. Mm-hmm. You have excellent people skills and how to draw people to you, give leadership, give direction, be firm and directive, where people know that they're in your presence, but at the same time, they understand that they're the presence of a person who's very skilled and can give directions and give directive and know and understand how to build people up, like you're saying, and connect with people and move them, point them in the direction where they need to go. And that's the kind of team I enjoy being on. Mr. Ryan Miller's team. But yeah, and even with the music, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street as we learn and learn from each other. I wanted to ask you one more final question, and so there's 2 words. You choose which one of the words that you would like to use as an acronym.
Okay.
As we close this session, but before we close this session, I'll ask you: would you be willing to come back again, Ryan, and share with us more?
I'd be happy to do it. Sure.
Great. Awesome. Now let's get to the words. 2 words.
Let's do it.
2 words. One of the words is good, or the other word is team. So you choose which one of those 2 words you'd like to go with, and then each letter is an acronym. That each letter would say and state a word that you would like to use to encourage people. So which word would you like to use? It the word good or the word team?
Yeah, I think let's go with the word team.
I was hoping you would. You would. Okay, let's go with team. And of course, Ryan, when you talk, I always like to take notes and things of that nature. So I'm going to take some notes on my notepad here.
Okay.
The word team, I'm writing it down right now, T-E-A-M. Okay. And let's start with the letter T.
All right. Letter T. Let's go with thoughtfulness.
Thoughtfulness. Wow. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit as far as thoughtfulness?
Yeah, it's easy with these things, with all types of devices, to be able to jump right in and say what's on your mind in the moment, or type in a few words into Chat GPT and have it out to you what should be said. And maybe one could argue that artificial intelligence is providing some thoughtfulness in an electronic sense, but I think being thoughtful about how we operate, what we say, how we interact with people in business, on the personal side, within family, for sure, in politics, that creates so much friction if we're not thoughtful about how we carry ourselves, how we communicate. And in the context of a team, that requires stepping outside of ourselves and being thoughtful around those around us.
Wow. Awesome. And the letter E.
E. I would go with excellence for E, but excellence being subjective. Excellence not being what others define as excellence, in as much as what we individually define as excellence in terms of striving for that. And maybe not always achieving it, but striving for that. And in the context of a team, I think it's incumbent upon a team to define, how do we want to become better? How do we want to become a more excellent version of ourselves individually and collectively as a team, so that we can be more successful and competitive out there.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. The next letter is A.
A. What to go with for A? I think adventurous.
Wow.
Yeah. Oftentimes, that I think that can connote maybe not necessarily having a direct or defined plan, but as we can see, especially at a time like this, especially in an industry like ours, we're seeing a time where we've seen fewer transaction activity than we have in a long, long time in the capital market space, or even on the leasing side of the business. So we're gonna have to be adventurous in terms of how we redefine ourselves, our offering as a company, as an industry overall, and as a team. You've got to have that, lest you become old news, and so I think leads us to new and innovative and creative things to do.
Wow. Adventurous. And the last letter is M.
M. M's what to go with for M.
You could probably say either mission or management or manage, or
Yeah. Maybe mission can sometimes be something that we do because we're forced to have a mission, right? Or core values, and it maybe doesn't necessarily always speak to how we operate, although, you could argue it should. I would say mindset.
Wow. Awesome.
I would say mindset, because, there are two types of mindsets. There's a fixed mindset, where everything is how it is, and if it doesn't go the right way, well then, we're failing. And there's a growth mindset. And the growth mindset, maybe along the lines of the event, comment, is that there's always room to learn. There's always room to grow. There's always an opportunity to fit and get better despite the circumstances. So I think mindset is important at the individual level as well as a team, to constantly push through whatever is thrown our way.
Wow. Ryan, that is awesome. So we've got it here. Team, the word, the acronym, thoughtfulness, excellence, adventurous, and mindset, open for growth. And what an excellent exegete that you've done here on this right here, because this is awesome. Because when you think about this, these are principles that you can utilize, and it's what a great illustration here to close this particular podcast on this day, where you talked about growth and mindset. To hear that come from a person, position that as you hold and as you operate, you're teachable. You're always learning. So to answer your question, no, you're not boring.
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Glad to hear.
Today, this man is not boring. He is open. He operates and he's thoughtful. He's operates in excellence, but at the same time, he's adventurous, willing to take a chance, willing to even give people that work around you an opportunity, a chance, and a mindset to learn. One of the things, I remember reading a book about Ford, who created the Ford Motor Company, and one of the things that they asked earlier in his years of success, because he was so successful with building the car, the Ford Motor Car, and they asked him a question. They wanted to do a press conference with him, and so he said, sure, he accepted it. And so the reporters came there, and he was there. Now, he had his the word you chose, teamed with him. And so the reporters asked him a question. And the questions that they asked him about finances, about all the legalities of the business, and all the other different questions that they may ask him, marketing, the whole thing, how he did it. And what he did is that when the reporters asked him a question, he pointed to his team and had his specialist on his team answer the question.
Yeah.
And that to me was a great illustration of how, in order to be an effective leader, you're never intimidated by your team, but you are able to provide leadership for your team. And then your team is willing and excited to be on you because they see that you're thoughtful. They see that you're operating in excellence. They see that you're adventurous. They see that you have an open mindset to learn for growth. And so that we all grow when Ryan Miller grows and utilizes his team and peripheral vision. And so that's what's seen here. That's what's displayed here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to just, I hope that you are able to learn from this and understand that it's important to be under great leadership. That's one of the things my father taught me, Ryan. I was so close to my father, and he told me about leadership and being able to work with people that are able to provide good, consistent leadership. And so as we close this show today, Ryan, what would be the final words that you would want to share with someone who's in college, who's at that place now where they've done their internships, they've graduated, that it's their last day in their dorm, and they haven't found a job yet, but they're looking, and they may get a call from Ryan Miller's office or an organization that is calling for them, but to be in position, what would be some encouraging words for you to give to a college student that's about to enter the real world?
I'd say I'd say trust your gut and follow what you're most interested in and what you believe to be most passionate about. And so it's very easy to be influenced by those around us, and oftentimes the influence can be good. Sometimes it can be neutral, and sometimes it actually goes against who we are at the core, right? So irrespective of the immediate financial prospects of a career path, if it's something that you're very interested in, you believe you can make a difference, go after that 120%, irrespective of what people say in terms of what you should or shouldn't do, because that's ultimately what's going to be fulfilling for you, and you're gonna take that with you throughout the rest of your career. So no one silver bullet on that, except for make sure that you're following the path that you believe is most aligned with who you are at the core.
Wow. Thank you, Ryan Miller. Once again, I couldn't find all the words, but I'll just choose a few. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this podcast, and we hope that you would be willing to come back again. I think he said yes, he would.
Happy to do it. Let me just say, I'm glad I didn't go with the word good, because I don't know if I could get two words that start with the letter O in a row. Well, I'll have to think about that. Think about that for the next time.
You know what? I'll take you up on it. Ladies and gentlemen, so we'll go with that word good the next time, and you'll have time to be ready for us to give us some direction on that. I want to thank you. So again, I want to thank you so much, Ryan. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is just proves and shows testament to the kind of person that Ryan Miller is, one who's got direction and giving leadership, but still finds time in his busy schedule to be a part of functions and programs like this. The word for the day, for those of you who are watching, as we celebrate Ryan Miller, is that the greatest teacher is one who remains teachable. The most effective leader is one who has learned from experiences in his or her life to be able to provide leadership, to be able to be a team player, to be thoughtful, operate in excellence, be adventurous, and have a proper mindset open for growth. And so those are the encouraging words for you today. So ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time on The Language of Life. And we hope that this was an experience that you would be encouraged and that you would be able to move forward. And college students, I hope that this would encourage you. And it's a point of reference to see where you can be in just maybe a few years, 10, whatever years, however long it takes. You have the encouragement because you've got the information that was shared with you today. So we'll see you next time. And catch me on The Language of Life. We'll have people like Ryan Miller who will be back, and others will be back to encourage you. See you next time. Ryan, once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Great to be with you.
All righty.